1986. The Soviet Union was in the middle of the Cold War with the United States. This parade was what the Western world thought Soviet power was all about. The world feared a nuclear showdown between these two nations with very different views on the world. The Soviet Union changed one fateful night, just outside of the northern Ukrainian town of Pripyat. Due to poor planning, poor communication, and bureaucratic red tape, during a safety test, there was a catastrophic explosion in the fourth reactor at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. This broadcast was all that appeared on Soviet TV after the accident. Little did anyone know the trouble that lay ahead. The Kremlin had no idea the disaster that they had on their hands and just how bad the situation really was. The explosion was so powerful that it blew the 30,000-ton lid off the reactor and forced it back in sideways. The extreme heat buildup caused the nuclear fuel rods and graphite that insulates them to be turned to a radioactive lava. This lava burned uncontrollably for days, melting through the floor and ground at the Chernobyl plant. The drinking water for all of Kiev, the biggest city in the Ukraine, was meters below the bedrock at Chernobyl. Not only would it have poisoned millions of Ukrainians, the lava would have cooled too rapidly, causing a nuclear chain reaction explosion that would have been 300 to 500 times worse than the initial blast. Estimates are that as many as 50 million Eastern Europeans would have suffered injuries or deaths due to this blast. This global catastrophe was prevented by a number of heroes dubbed bio-robots that sacrificed themselves for the greater good of the world. These are the men that literally saved the world. Now they're known as the Chernobyl liquidators. The sarcophagus was constructed as quickly as possible. It was never meant to be a permanent structure. Due to rugged Ukrainian winters and the radioactive environment, the already fragile structure is falling apart fast. Holes letting water in and dust out have become more obvious over time. Rust and the quick manner in which it was constructed have required daily upkeep for almost 25 years. With the potential of roof collapse looming in the near future, the time is now to replace this structure before another catastrophe happens there. The structure was designed to be in place for 20 to 30 years, and it's been 25 since the disaster happened.
You can see the sarcophagus which is surrounding the exploded reactor. They built the cement tomb to try and control the radioactivity inside, but because they had to build it in a hurry, it's actually in a very fragile condition. There's like untold quantities of water which comes in as rainfall through the cracks, and it's literally hanging and the roof is about to collapse inside. And yet in 1986 it only spewed out about 3% of its full potential, and the balance is actually still remaining inside, which is a very scary thought. And the scientists say that the next Chernobyl will be Chernobyl itself.
The children living in the areas closest to Chernobyl have been hit the hardest. In addition to the exponentially higher amount of birth defects, like the one seen here, there's been an unprecedented outbreak in thyroid cancer.
I was born on the 3rd of April, and 1986, and Chernobyl disaster was on the 26th of April, also 1986. So I think because of this, I have some problems with my back.
Do you know what's wrong with you? Do you have thyroid cancer?
Not exactly.
No.
No.